Hey everybody, so today I wanted to check in with my Harkin quilt. This is a quilt that I just finished making a pattern for a few months back, and it's just a really fun little pattern. You can check it out on my website at bloomingpoppies.net, but I wanted to show you how I finished off the binding. So this is the back of the quilt, and I have finished the binding with, as you can see here, a big stitch binding, and I used the pink non-contrasting pink thread. I actually used a number 12 for this one. And I decided that I'd like to incorporate a little bit of the gold or the yellow. So I have a number 8, which is a little bit thicker pearl cotton, for the little pop of color that I wanted to incorporate in the corners. Okay, so this is just a stitch that I basically just, I'm sure I've seen this at some point somewhere. And I didn't know how to do it up until very recently. I just had never really tried it. And I just went ahead and gave it a try, and I'm just going to show you what I know. I'm definitely not an expert. As you can see, these are not super even, but it's something to get you started. And if you really get into this and you think it's fun, you could certainly give it a bunch of practice and you'd become, I'm sure, really good at it. So, which I clearly need to do. But right now I'm happy with this. It looks handmade. It looks, it's not perfect. And I think it's just a sweet little finish. So I'm going to share with you how I did that. And I also wanted to, before I share that with you, I wanted to show you on another Harkin quilt, actually. I did it on this one as well. This one was machine stitched, the binding. Okay, and then I just thought, just for fun, it would be neat to add some of those to the corners on this one as well. So you'll see there, this is with a little less of a contrasting thread. So I really like how that turned out. I think it's pretty cute, and it just adds a little bit of interest. I did that on all 4 corners. Some corners, some corners look better than others. They come out differently for every time because, like I said, I'm kind of new to this, but you just practice, have fun with it, and it's just a fun little finish. So I thought that would be neat to share with you guys. So I'm going to use my classic version to show you. This is my gold and pink classic version that I have recently finished, and I have actually I have 2 corners left. So I'm hoping this goes well on this corner, and you guys can kind of see how it's done. So let's see, I'll just put my thread there, or made my needle there, and I do about an arm's length and up to my elbow-ish length of thread here. So that's plenty to get me going all the way around the corner. And I am terrible, I'm going to just tell you, I'm terrible at doing quilter's knots, so I just don't do them. So I don't know how people get so good at those, but I have tried so many times to just whip out a quilter's knot, and it is just not my thing. Somehow I can thread the tiniest needle, no problem, but when I try to do a quilter's knot, forget about it. So I just do a good old-fashioned knot. That's how my grandma always taught me. Nothing fancy. Just knot it there at the bottom, and then you're good to go. So what I like to do with mine is I've just chosen, you can do anything you want obviously here, I'm just doing 3 and then 1 here in the center and 3 on the other side. So 7 stitches all together, and here I'm going to just use my thumb to mark where I want to start. And sorry about the very clashing color on my fingernails there. I got a manicure, which is something I don't usually do, and I did not choose the right color for this tutorial. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to stick my needle in at the spot I want the right side of my first X to come through. Okay, so I've got my knot, and I want it to come at pretty much right at the edge of that big stitch binding. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of, yeah, that's about right. Okay, so I'm gonna just pull that up, and you're gonna hear your knot kind of pop through there. And you want to hear that knot, because otherwise it's not really, oh, that didn't work. Try that again. Otherwise it's not really in there the way that, you know, it's not in there very securely. So you want to really make sure, there we go. That was better. Okay, so now I'm going to just come up. I want to do a diagonal, right? So I'm going to just, this is the hardest part I have found, is making the diagonal lines even with each other. So you just kind of eyeball it at first. And everybody's going to be different. Do you want it very wide X? Do you want it, you know, narrow X? I'm going to do, I don't know what you call this, if it's wide or narrow, but I'm going to do it about right there. And then when I bring the needle back through, I'm going to line it up roughly with the bottom, okay? Because I want them to be, you know, symmetrical. And then that will give me my diagonal line, okay? So now I want to make another diagonal. And again, I'm going to line it up with this top here. So I'm going to come through, I'm going to come back through my fabric down here, but in line with this little hole. So, and then I want my needle to be facing this way. Sorry, I'm left-handed, by the way, guys, as you didn't, in case you didn't notice. So it may be kind of backwards if you're not left-handed, but this is the only way I know how to do it. So then I'm going to come back up where I want my next X to start. Okay, and that's, so that'll be the bottom of my next one. And let's just see. Okay, so we have our first X. Okay, so now we're going to come up to the top to make the next diagonal line. And now I'm going to have to just be a little bit ambidextrous for the camera to show you guys. And I'm going to say that's about the same width, I hope, as I did on the first X. I'm going to just turn this a little bit to kind of show you guys, just so I can get the right tension here. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up to here, and then I want to make sure it's in the same line here too. I want to make sure I'm across and at the same line. So I'm going to come in there. Sorry, this is all just kind of a weird little angle on camera, but when you do it at home, it's not quite as awkward. Okay, and then again, I'm going to go down the diagonal and I'm going to line it up with my top. Okay, so roughly, and this is all just eyeballing it. This is not rocket science, and it's not science. It's just handmade. Okay, so that's the bottom now of my third X, and I'm going to come up again, do the same thing, and I want to again be in the same plane or the same line as this one, and I'm going to go over one more time, right about there, I'm going to say. Trying to do that with my right hand is tricky. If I was at home, if I was like not in my studio and sitting on my couch, I would be turning the quilt a lot more and doing, you know, more manipulations with it so that it was easier for me to do. But since I'm showing you on the camera, it's a little bit tricky. So for this one, I want to be set up. I'm going to come back again like I did for the other two. I'm going to be in line with this. And I want to come up over here for my next X, because this is going to be the X that falls on the corner. Okay, so let's just see if that works. It's going to be kind of a narrow X. All right, so then my next one is going to come up here, right? Because that's that's my diagonal line. So I'm going to keep it in the line with this, and I'm going to come, I'm going to say, I don't ever do these quite wide enough, so I'm going to try it a little bit wider this time. And again, I'm trying to come out right about where the bottom is. So I think that's actually a little bit too wide. Let's try there. Okay, and then I'm going to pull that through. Okay, not sure about this one. This one's going to be maybe not quite as you know, as fancy as I want it to be. Wouldn't you know, the one that you do on camera is the one that doesn't turn out as well as the others. Yeah, it's just Murphy's Law, I guess. But that's okay. You're all hand makers, you know. Okay, and you can learn by my mistakes. But this one you can see, I didn't really come up. I guess this one went a little bit too far over, so it's too narrow down here. So I could pull that out and start over and try to do something that looks more uniform, but I'm going to keep going. It doesn't bug me that much, actually. So I'm going to just keep going. So now I'm coming from here to here, and I'm going to do a diagonal. And again, always keeping the top line in mind if you want it to be, you know, if you want it to look at least a little bit uniform. You're going to try to keep that line similar or somewhat consistent. Okay, so now we're doing that again. I'm going to turn it here. And what I really want to do is make these X's, or these X's on this side, similar in size and scale to these. I want them to be the same or very close. And I have a feeling this one's way too wide. In fact, that's way too wide. Sorry, this one I do have to take out. All of you at home might have been going, no, that's not the right spot, too far. You could tell. But yeah, that one was just not going to work. So let's thread that needle again. Good thing I'm wearing my good glasses. Oh, but I split my yarn a little bit here. I need a stop motion on my, there we go. Okay. All right, so let's try that again. That was just a little bit too wide. Okay, so I'm not going to go quite as far over this time, but I am going to make it in the same plane. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to come back over again, and I'm going to come up right next to it. Okay. Okay, so not loving that one. Let's keep going. I don't know, that one for some reason just doesn't want to cooperate. Let's try it again for some more consistency. You know, it's just really what different makers are into, I guess. You know, some people need it to be perfect and absolutely spot on, like it was, you know, made in a, you know, a factory. I'm just not that worried about perfection. I used to be very worried about it being perfect, and it had to just be just so. I'd rip it all out. But it just isn't that important to me anymore. Obviously, craftsmanship-wise, if the quilt was going to fall apart because of these stitches not being consistent, that would be very different. But because it's not, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so this is my last stitch. This one is definitely a little funky, but you know, that would be up to you, the maker, if you wanted to go back and do that one. Actually, both of these. These two are really bugging me, but I'm going to just look beyond it. And for the sake of showing you guys how to do it, I'm going to finish it. So what I would do with my last stitch is I would go ahead and make, and this is again a little bit of a trial and error. You kind of have to just eyeball this part and practice. But you want your knot to be right about where it's going to come through the fabric. Okay, so like, oops, let me get that needle in there so I can decide where I'm going to put my knot. I'm going to say it's going to be about right there. Okay, totally just eyeballing it. It's actually a little bit too long. But what I'm going to do, just for the sake of showing you, is for my last stitch, I'm going to shove it in here, okay, where I want it to land, where I want it to be, and then I'm going to bury it within somewhere down here in the binding. And I'm just going to have it come through over here, just some random spot. Okay, it doesn't matter where, but it should be a little bit distance away from where you want it to land. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to gently pull. And this is a number 8 thread, so it's actually a little bit tricky. Come on, number 8, you can do it. Don't fail me now. Sorry guys, it's actually, okay, it did go through. You can see there, it went through. I can feel the knot under the binding here. Okay, so the knot is buried in there. My thread is way over here, and I'm gonna just cut my thread, and it is secure. And I just kind of fluff it over with my finger. And then you got it, and that's pretty much it. Now, again, I don't love how this one and this one turned out, but you get the idea, the general idea of how it works. And it's pretty basic. It's actually really fun. It's super simple. There's nothing showing on the front, but you have this fun little surprise on the back. So thanks for sticking around and looking at all my mistakes, watching all my mishaps and my almost blowing at moments. But you hopefully see how to do it, and with some practice, you're going to be really good at it. And you could do, frankly, you could do your entire binding this way if you wanted. That would be really fun too. So anyway, just have fun with it. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.